Did you ever wonder why the mighty Roman Empire, an unstoppable force that steamrolled through Gaul, Egypt, Judea, and even Britain, ever managed to take over the Arabian Peninsula? They had the legions, they had the wealth, they had emperors who dreamed of pushing their eagle standards into every corner of the known world. And yet, Arabia, the sun-scorched, unforgiving land at the edge of the empire, remained outside of Rome's grasp. What was it about this desert land that defied one of the greatest empires in human history? Let's travel back nearly 2,000 years and uncover the untold story of how Rome met its match not in swords or shields, but in sand, sun, and silence. When most people think of Arabia in Roman times, they picture a barren wasteland, nothing but dunes and camels, an empty stretch on the map. But this couldn't be further from the truth. Arabia was alive. It was a land of fiercely independent tribes, ancient incense roots, and sacred cities whose histories stretched back longer than the empire itself. Long before Rome ever cast its eyes on the desert, Arabia had already carved out its own story, one of resilience, trade, and resistance. The first whispers of Rome's ambition toward Arabia came not from generals, but from merchants. Frankincense and myrrhizins, more valuable than gold, flowed out of southern Arabia to temples across the empire. These fragrant substances weren't just perfumes, they were spiritual offerings, medicines, and symbols of status. And Rome wanted control. The Emperor Augustus, ruling from 27 BCE, saw Arabia as a jewel waiting to be taken. His campaign to dominate the known world was well underway. Egypt had just fallen into Roman hands, and the Red Sea was now under imperial watch. But Arabia lay to the south and east, a region less understood, less charted, and less willing to bend. In 26 BCE, Augustus ordered one of his most trusted commanders, Aelius Gallus, to lead an ambitious military expedition into Arabia Felix, the region we now call Yemen. It was said to be a land of riches, a realm of spices and prosperity. Augustus had dreams of adding it to Rome's growing list of conquered lands. Aelius Gallus set out from Egypt with around 10,000 soldiers, including Roman legionaries and allied troops. He expected a quick campaign, swift, decisive, glorious. Instead, what followed was a brutal lesson in hubris. The journey was cursed from the beginning. The Roman fleet struggled through the Red Sea, battered by unfamiliar currents and suffocating heat. When they finally landed, they found no lush cities or paved roads, just blistering terrain, and an enemy who knew it well. Gallus had relied on a Nabatean guide, Silius, whose motives were questionable. Some say he intentionally led the Romans astray, dragging them deep into the most inhospitable parts of Arabia. Others argue the land itself was enough to defeat any outsider. The Roman army stumbled through the desert for 6 months. 6 months of scorching sun, disease, thirst, and exhaustion. Tens of thousands of Roman boots marched forward, but morale disintegrated with every mile. When they finally reached the city of Mirbom, of the Sabians, it wasn't a battlefield. It was a disaster. Gallus laid siege, but the Arabian defenses held strong. The Romans couldn't adapt to the terrain. Their supply lines were stretched thin, their soldiers falling to illness and heatstroke more than enemy swords. Eventually, defeated not in combat but by the land itself, Gallus ordered a retreat. It took them 60 days to get back. Nearly a third of his army never made it. Augustus was furious, but the message was clear. Arabia would not fall like Gaul or Egypt. But that wasn't the end of Roman interest in Arabia. Instead of full conquest, Rome shifted strategies. They looked to the north, the Nabateans. This kingdom, with its capital at Petra, had long controlled the trade routes between Arabia and the Mediterranean. They were masters of water management, builders of monumental architecture, and shrewd negotiators. Rather than fight them, Rome made them clients, partners in trade, buffers against chaos. Eventually, in 106 CE, under Emperor Trajan, the Nabatean kingdom was annexed peacefully and turned into the Roman province of Arabia Petraea. Roman roads were built, forts were established, but this was northern Arabia world, away from the rugged highlands and scorching coasts of the south. Beyond the Roman frontier, tribes like the Himyarites, the Sabaeans, and the Kedarites maintained their independence. These weren't unified states. Arabia was a land of tribal confederations, shifting alliances, and cultural pride that no emperor's banner could dissolve. The Romans, skilled though they were in war, struggled to understand or infiltrate this ever-changing mosaic. In fact, the very geography of Arabia was its greatest defender. Imagine this: a Roman soldier, used to marching through the temperate fields of Gaul or the stone roads of Italy, suddenly finds himself under a blazing sun with no shade, no water, and no clear enemy in sight. The desert didn't just test endurance, it broke it. Even Rome's famed logistics couldn't solve the fundamental problem of distance. The deeper their armies went, the more vulnerable they became. There were no convenient rivers to ferry supplies, no towns to requisition food from, just wind, sand, and the burning breath of the Arabian sun. But geography alone doesn't explain it. The people of Arabia resisted Rome not just with terrain but with identity. They had cultures older than Rome itself, and a fierce love of autonomy. Rome could bribe some, trade with others, but subjugation. That was another matter. Some tribes became Roman allies. Others attacked Roman forts. Some did both depending on the season. The fluidity of tribal politics in Arabia baffled Roman officials who preferred tidy lines and formal treaties. Arabia didn't play by Rome's rules, and in the end, that proved more effective than any army. Rome's influence did seep in through trade, architecture, and language, but conquest, that never came. And the consequences of this were immense. Because Arabia remained outside direct Roman rule, it developed on its own terms. Its people preserved their languages, their spiritual traditions, their political independence. In centuries to come, this would allow the Arabian Peninsula to become the cradle of something Rome never anticipated, a new religious and cultural force that would reshape the world. Islam. When the Prophet Muhammad was born in Mecca in the 6th century CE, the Roman Empire was already in decline, but Arabia stood untouched and assimilated. Its culture was intact, its people unbroken. Had Rome succeeded in conquering Arabia centuries earlier, would that world-changing movement have taken the same form? We'll never know. But the absence of Roman rule made space for something else to emerge, something profound. So why couldn't Rome conquer Arabia? Because sometimes, geography, climate, and politics converge in a way that even the greatest empires can't unravel. Because there are places on this earth whose spirit cannot be tamed by legions or gold. And because the desert, in all its silent majesty, guards its secrets with fierce resolve. Arabia didn't defeat Rome in battle, it simply outlasted it. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the forgotten corners of history. If this story stirred your curiosity or changed how you see the ancient world, don't forget to like this video, leave a comment with your thoughts or questions, and subscribe to the channel for more human stories from history's past. Until next time, remember, history isn't just about what was conquered, but also about what endured.